Take a look at this. Please like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share this video to all of your friends. Now let's get into the video.
Alright guys, so welcome to today's video, and we will today cover up this One Piece game, and especially we will focus on the character editor. Yeah, so do not expect that we will finish the character editor today, but we'll probably finish the GUI design, the camera positioning, etc. today. And in the next episodes we will deal with the hair creation, shirt creation, accessory creation, pants creation, and much more things. So if you have any ideas regarding this character editor, then please comment them so that we are able to realize them within these next episodes, guys. Okay, so do not forget to comment anything if you have any ideas regarding this character editor. Alright guys, so go to this asset manager right here, and then click on this character editor, and then a new window will pop up. So you guys are unable to see it right now because OBS is not allowing me to show that, but now you're able to see it. And yeah, so we first of all should build a scene, I think. So I'm just gonna build a scene inside of a bar, maybe Makino's bar, but yeah, probably a bar, and the camera will focus on the wall behind, so therefore we only need to build one wall, and the character will stand on one crate. So the scene is going to be pretty minimalistic, but I think there's not much required in order to create a scene for a character editor. So the character editor should more focus on the GUIs, the assets, etc. guys. Let me just place this dummy right here so I have some kind of idea on how big the wall is going to be, or how big the wall should be. Of course, you're free to change it if you do not want to have the same thing as I'm creating right here. So if you prefer your own scene, then you can just skip this part, because I'm just gonna build the scene and then move on with the next part of this video, in which I deal with the cameras and such. So the cameras will be pretty important, I think, and you should, of course, regard them, consider doing them. Okay, so here we go. Okay. Okay, now there we go. So this is our crate, and we will now make the dummy stand on this one, and this is our scene for the character editor. It is nothing special. It is very plain, to be honest, but the focus is on the GUIs and the assets, of course, and not on the scene, guys. Okay, so this is our scene. Let me just quickly anchor everything, and then group everything. Call this scene. Okay. Now, guys, we need to create a spawn box for our player, so our player does not fall through, or does not fall all the way down and then die and then break the camera or something. So we need to build a spawn box in which the player is stored inside. Okay, so the camera is obviously going to be focused on the scene and not on the player, and the player therefore needs to be stored somewhere where he's unable to die, you know. So once he dies, the camera could break, or will break, I'm not sure, but it should break, I think. And if it breaks, then it will probably be focused on the player, and that's not what we want to achieve, you know. So we want the camera to be focused on the scene the whole time throughout the editing process, and therefore we are building this spawn box. Alright, there we go. So do not forget to anchor it, and now create a folder which contains the camera parts I was just talking about. So let's call this thing cam stuff, and this one will contain the camera parts. Means, well, if you have watched my previous videos about this One Piece tutorial, then you should know how cameras or camera manipulation works. So we basically have a part which C-frame is being used to apply it on the camera. C-frame means the angle it looks to a certain object is used on a camera. Okay, so it's just some kind of placeholder. Okay, so this part is just a placeholder which is supposed to be the camera's perspective once its C-frame or its position information is applied on the camera. Okay, so just to say it in very, very easy words, and probably a little bit of misleading, but it's more understandable for you guys, I think, if I say it so. So let's say that this, put this away, so let's say that this is the base. No, wait, let me find a cool position. All right, so let's say that this is going to be the basic camera perspective. Okay, so let's first of all do that. So this part is going to represent this perspective. So if you're fine with the positioning of this part, so remember, this is going to be the perspective. Okay, so if you're fine with the positioning, so let me just turn it a little. So if you're fine with it, then do not forget to disable the collision down here, anchor it, and make this thing transparent. Okay, so that's pretty important. And do not worry if the positioning is not okay on the first time, because you're still able to edit it, you're still able to move it and to rotate it, so do not worry about that. And this perspective is probably not going to be perfect as well, so it's normal, guys. Okay, so do not worry about that. So let's call this thing cam basic, and let's just move it inside of our cam stuff folder. Now let's create a local script, and the first thing we want to do is we want to define a new variable which refers to our camera. So our camera right here is in the workspace, therefore we need to do workspace, or you can also do game workspace, but I don't see the point in doing that when you can just do so. So workspace, cam stuff, no, camera, I'm sorry. So we want to access this camera right here, and that's actually it. Oh no, let's access the current camera, not the camera, but let's access the current camera, guys. Now the second thing we want to define as a variable is our cam stuff folder. So cam stuff, and this one is inside of the workspace as well, therefore workspace, and then just cam stuff, not child edit, but cam stuff. And yeah, so that's it. Now we want to, as I've just described, want to apply this C-frame, okay, the C-frame of this part, we want to apply it onto our camera. So our camera is like this. Okay, so how do we do that? We first of all need to change several things regarding this camera right here. So things like the camera, like this camera type right here. So if we would not change that, we would probably be able to achieve this positioning, but we would be able to move it like this. Okay, and that's not what we want to do. Now let me give you some more examples. So attach would mean this, and we do not want the camera to be that way as well. Custom, well, there is no difference to fixed, I think. Now follow, well, in this case also no difference. Now orbital, also no difference in this case. Okay, so remember, only in this case. Now scriptable, is the camera type we want to have later on, and track. Okay, not much difference as well, and watch, also no difference because we have no camera subject right now. So if I would add this as a camera subject and then apply track, for example, as you can see, it does this. Now watch, okay, watch follows or is always turned into to that part, guys. Now what does follow do? Okay, follow does that. Well, I just wanted to show you those different cases, guys. Now we also should have a camera subject, guys. So let's make this thing the cam sub, okay? So the camera subject, because otherwise that would be missing and that's not good. Okay, so what do we need to change? We need to change the camera subject. I'm not able to change this. Wait, let me manually change that. Camera subject. No. Come on. Alright, so it does not want to change. There's nothing I can do. Alright. So camera subject, first of all, needs to be changed, okay? So what is supposed to be our, or which part is going to be our new camera subject? Well, I've just created this one, therefore this will be our new camera subject. So cam stuff, because this part is inside of cam stuff, cam sub. Now the next thing we want to change is our C-frame. No, is our camera type. So as I've just mentioned earlier, our camera type is going to be scriptable because I've just shown you the different cases, and scriptable made it unable to the user to move around, or yeah, so the camera was just steady and was just focused on or in one direction, you know. So that's what we want to use that. So just as a quick reminder, this is scriptable. So as you can see, my mouse is moving like crazy, but yeah, the camera is not moving a little, okay? So it's just like frozen, and that's what we want to achieve, guys. So we do not want to move the camera around. Okay, so now let me just quickly change this to fixed. Okay, so now the subject has been changed, the type has been changed, and now we want to change the C-frame. So cam C-frame, and as I've just said, guys, we want the C-frame to be equal to this C-frames, to this part's C-frame. So therefore cam stuff, so we are referring to this folder by mentioning this variable. And now we want to refer to cam basic because that's the part which C-frame is important to us. So cam stuff, cam basic, C-frame. That's it. So this should work. Now there's this case where, okay, so it is not there. All right. Yeah, so it's kind of all right. Let me just rotate this a little bit more down, and therefore move it a little bit more up. And let me move, okay. Let me move this window a bit more to the left. All right, now as you can see, we have some kind of scene, and our camera is focused on those points. Okay, now let's move on with the GUI. So I have plans regarding the GUI and the camera, so we'll cover up that in this video as well if we have enough time left, but I think that the time should be enough for this video. So let's create a screen GUI. let's call this one editor. Now let's insert a frame. And inside of that frame, so I'm still thinking how the design could look like, guys. Yeah, so let's just add this frame right here, and this frame will have this UI corner inside and this UI gradient. So what this UI corner does is it just, yeah, rounds those corners of the frame, and the UI gradient, yeah, creates some kind of gradient. So let me just quickly show you how this would look like. As you can see, this gradient right here is being created. All right, so now let's give this whole thing a size. Let's make this there we go. So as you can see, we have just, or I have just set this as the color, and this looks pretty boring, to be honest. But now we have this gradient right here, and what this does is, let me just demonstrate it to you guys. So if you make the points at the beginning and at the end a little dark, then make those in the middle a little bit more darker as well. Okay, now let's make the end a little bit more dark, and as you can see, you have some kind of fade, okay, some kind of shade inside. Now we can rotate this, and it would look like this, but I think that this, yeah, so this looks more better, or this looks better. And yeah, so that's what the gradient does. Now you can play around with that combination. I love it, to be honest. I use it in my own project as well, and yeah, I'm really amazed of that. Now let's add some buttons. Let's add those two components inside as well. So if you do not want to use these components, then go ahead, but I'm gonna, yeah, use them. Just gonna I'm not sure if we should do faces. Let's not do them. Let's do accessories instead, because yeah, faces, well, there are multiple ways to do them, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I only, yeah, can show one. And well,
I really would like to focus more on Blender and yeah, more building assets than painting them or drawing them. So if you want to do any faces, you can just go to this images tab right here. I don't know, look out for Luffy or Luffy face maybe. Yeah, so something like that, and try to do your own stuff. But if you're interested in seeing faces, guys, then comment so that I could make a mini tutorial in which I just add up the category faces, okay? But well, I'm not gonna do that in this video, I think, and I do not plan on doing that either. So, but if you want to see it, then comment so I can consider adding it in a future episode, guys. So hair accessories. Now let's do shirts. Let's do one more thing called body. And this body will also cover up races. So we will have the body color and races in this category. Come on. All right. So that's to that. So we now have this category menu at the left, and now we will have the frames. Okay, so the frames, we will probably have them at the right side, but if we do it that way, that would mean that we would also need to move the dummy a bit more into the middle, I think. So let's just do that. So let's move this dummy to the middle. Let's see. Okay, so it would look like that. Okay, there we go. So there we go. Now we will have those frames I've just talked about at the right. But before we do them, I wanted to connect those buttons to the camera, as I've just mentioned earlier, pretty indirectly, but I've mentioned it. So what do I mean by that? So my idea was that if someone, let's say you're inside of your, well, let me just play, okay? So just to demonstrate you guys. So if someone is like at the editor right now and is thinking about, okay, so I want to click on hair, okay? So if the person clicks on hair, then the camera is going to do the following. So let's say that this is the base position. Then the camera would, after you have hit hair or accessory even, the camera would move up to the dummy's face, okay? So that was my plan. And this feature will grant the user more opportunities to observe the head or the torso or the legs, so it depends on what you're pressing. So it grants the user more opportunities to observe the dummy after one of the assets have been applied, and also indirectly signalizes that the thing you're currently editing is the hair or the shirt. Okay, so many One Piece games on Roblox, or yeah, many games, many anime games which feature character editors do not have this feature, and it's just like, yeah, so you are like in this editor right here, and it doesn't matter which buttons you click, you will just stay in this position, okay? And sometimes you're like even confused, so you think that you have pressed on here, then suddenly if you take a look at the right, you only see shirts or something, okay? And that could be pretty confusing, and therefore I just thought about this feature, guys, and I think it's actually pretty great. So I have featured it in one of my unreleased projects some years ago, probably 3 years ago. So the camera has actually zoomed into the player's face when editing the hair or accessories, or yeah, whatsoever. I think you have gotten my point right here. So that's what I just wanted to offer you guys. Well, not offer. I'm gonna do it. There's nothing like offer, but I'm gonna do it, guys. And yeah, so for that we will just copy this cam basic, call this thing cam head, and this one will, of course, yeah, this one will face the player's head directly, guys. So it will look like this, but yeah, that's actually a bit too much, a bit too over exaggerating. So let's just, yeah, I think that this is actually pretty good. So let's just keep it like that. Now we can duplicate this once again, call this cam shirt, or let's call this cam torso actually. So I think that, yeah, I think that's actually more appropriate. So okay, so that's okay, I think. Let's move on with the cam bottom, let's say. Cam bottom. And this one will, of course, focus on the player's legs. Okay, so that's it. All right. Now, how do we, yeah, make those buttons zoom into different sectors of this dummy? So how do we do that? Yes, so we first of all need to add a local script inside of this frame. Monitor, let's call this one monitor. And we of course need to insert some variables, but we'll do that later. So we first of all need to detect when one of those buttons has been clicked, guys. And of course, one method you can do, and I have done as well, my yeah, beginner, I don't know, beginner years, beginner days. Okay, so back then when I've begun, when I was new to scripting, so I actually have created multiple variables which refer to multiple buttons right here. So I had a variable for button, for body button, which referred to this one, a button for shirt, a variable for shirt button, which referred to the shirt, and so on. But then I have found out about this cool trick. So what we actually can do is we can skim, or we can loop through this frame and just check for everything, which is a text button. So we can check if this, or if these text buttons have been clicked, okay? So without even defining any variables up here, so of course you are defining 2 variables, okay, but rather 2 than multiple ones. And yeah, so that's actually pretty cool, and it works automatically, so you do not have to, yeah, I don't know, so manually add some code to it or so you could easily just copy it in every script which has many buttons, okay, and just detect changes, so to detect when they have been clicked or such, if you do it the way I will show, okay. All right, but one negative aspect to this is that it will not detect instances or buttons in this case which have been added later, okay, so it will only detect those which are inside from the very start. So let's say that if we would, or let's say we would test this thing out, okay, if we would test it, then it would only detect those buttons, okay? So it will only notice when those have been clicked. And now let's say throughout the gameplay, throughout the testing, a new button joins this frame, okay? So we have gotten a new button called finish, okay? And then this script will not be able to detect that button. And that's one negative aspect to that. But it's not that common that a new button is being added to a frame, I think. And if that happens, then, well, then you need to use other methods, guys. But enough with the talking, let's just do that. So we are going to use a for I loop. So for I, so this is the index, btn is the instance. So let me just quickly cover this up again. So UI corner is at the first spot of this frame, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the first spot, this is the second spot, this is the third spot, etc. And what I does is I represents the spots I've just counted. So I is 1, I is 2, I is 3, I is 4, etc. And btn is the instance. So if I is 1, then btn is UI corner. Okay. And if I is 3, btn is this monitor script, and so on. So for I btn in pairs. So for I in pairs loop, script parent get children. So what does script parent get children do? So script parent first of all refers to this frame, and get children is a function which just gets all of the children. So Roblox calls these children. I think that, yeah, content is maybe more suitable for beginners. So this is the content of this frame, and Roblox just gets all of them and puts them in some kind of table format for this loop to loop through it. Okay, so the loop is basically just able to loop through all of these, okay? And while it loops through all of these, we can of course do whatever we want to with the instance. So let's say the loop is looping through and is currently at the 4th instance. So I is 4, btn is body. So we could now detect if btn, which is our body in this case, okay, but only if I is 4, btn, mouse click, etc. So we can detect mouse clicks with that. But there's an issue. So this frame does not only contain buttons, it also contains a script and, yeah, these UI instances right here. And that's an issue. So if we would do button, mouse, button, 1 click, connect function. So if we would do that, which is typical for detecting text or text button clicks or image button clicks whatsoever. So if we would do that, okay, then the script would run into an error, because on one hand, you guys are right, btn can be one of these, okay, and these have this event which stands for the mouse click, okay, but on the other hand, there are also much more instances besides those text buttons. So we also have these UI instances, we also have this local script right here, and they do not possess this event of mouse button 1 click. And therefore you would try to access an event which is not existent to this instance, and that would cause an error, guys, and that's an issue. So we first of all need to filter those instances from our text button. So we only want to work with our text button. So how do we do that? We need to make one more line above which checks for their class names, or which checks for their class. Okay, so if our button, we can either say class name is text button, or we can do alternatively, I don't know if that's pronounced right, is a and then text button. So we can also do that, but let's just do this one for this case. So if our btn is a text button, then we want to check if it has been clicked, and if that's the case, then we want to do the rest. So change the camera perspective, etc. Okay, so this should work now. Let's just quickly see if those buttons are being recognized and the clicks are being recognized as well. And yes, so there we go. As you can see, it prints out high. All right. Now let's connect this to our camera parts right here. So we of course need to get those variables from earlier. So our camera and our camera stuff folder right here. And now we can do the following. So if the button has been pressed, then we want to know which button. Oh well, wait, let me think of another method, guys. Alright, wait. So let's create a table, okay? I think that's a pretty easy solution. So let's create this table, okay? And what this table does is it holds entries, okay? And those entries tell the script which parts are being focused of which category. So I'm sorry if that was not proper English, but so the table tells you that, for example, cam head is focused when the hair is being pressed, for example, when the accessory is being pressed, for example, etc. But it also tells you that the cam torso is being focused when the shirt is being pressed, or the body is being pressed, whatsoever, yes? And that's what this table will do. So if thing inside of here is cam head, so cam head equals, so what does it equal? It equals the name of the buttons, okay? So cam head is being focused when hair, okay? So when hair is being, it's being pressed. Now let's do the same for the other parts right here. So we also have this cam torso, so cam torso is being focused when the shirt has been pressed. Now cam bottom is being focused when the pants have been pressed. Okay, now we have body and accessories left, and I want to, so wait, cam basic, I think, yes, so cam basic, and I want these two buttons to be, to make the player focus on cam basic. So accessories and body. Okay, and that's what the table is. So if the button has been clicked, it just loops through the table. So in terms of tables, I2 in this case, or our index, is this one, and entry is this one, okay? Now, we want to, so we first of all want to check, we create another loop. And this loop loops through what's inside of these curly brackets, okay? In this case, only one entry, one entry, one entry as well. So we could have put these only as a string, so without these curly brackets. But if we would do that, then we would have need to do it for these as well, and that's impossible. So therefore, we'll just keep it like this. And can avoid adding new checks to this one. So this a check right here would possibly need to differentiate between only string, so without these curly brackets, and with curly brackets means a new table inside of another table. Okay, so we just want to loop through this entry, means everything inside of these curly brackets, and then we just want to check if entry 2 equals the button's name. If that's the case, then we want this to be the camera part to be focused on. So we just say cam C-frame, then cam stuff, I2, not I3, I2, C-frame. Okay, and that's actually it. So let me just see if it works, and if it works, then I'm gonna explain it to you in detail. And yeah, so as you can see, it does work. So how does this work in detail? So let me just explain from the beginning. So we have this loop right here, and it loops through this table. I2 is the name of those parts, of those camera parts, and entry is, yeah, the table of those buttons which make the camera focus once they have been clicked. Okay, so which make the camera focus on the part they have been, yeah, assigned to. Okay, so once you click on hair, cam head is going to be focused. Once you click on shirt, cam torso is being focused, and so on. So that's what this table basically says. So it basically just holds this information. And now if we loop through this table, so let's say we are at I2 equals cam head, and then we are at entry, this one. Okay, so we are at this entry, and now we want to read what's inside of this entry. We want to see if the entries inside are the same as the name of our button which has been clicked, because if that's the case, then we know what part is going to be, yeah, focused. Okay, so that's what we want to know, and the script only knows that by looping through this table. So we are at this line right here, and now we loop through. Okay, let's say that we have clicked the shirt button, for example. Okay, so the shirt button has been clicked, guys. We are looping, we are currently here, and now it loops through this one, and then it looks for an entry called shirt, but apparently there's only hair inside, therefore it will move on. Now we are here, then it loops through this entry again, and now it finds a string called shirt, which is equal to the button's name, to the button which we have clicked. And if that happens, then the script is now, wait, let me see. So this is basically the part where we loop through this entry, and this is the part where we compare the button's name, so the button which have been pressed, so we compare that name to what's inside of the entry, and if those are equal to each other, then the script knows that this or this or this, but in our example this, is the name of the part which is inside of this folder to which we need to override our camera C-frame with. Okay, and that basically happens down here. So we say that our camera C-frame equals to the C-frame of that part, and I2 in this case is, as I've just said, this whatsoever. And that's basically how it works. Now, as you have just seen, it was pretty choppy, so there was no transition in between, and we can easily change that. So we can work with tweening. I have used tweens a lot recently, so we create a new variable and then refer to the tween service, and then we make use of the create function. Now the first argument is the instance we want to tween, which is the camera. So we want to tween the camera C-frame. So what does tweening mean basically? Let me just explain it in easy words for you. So let's say that you have, oh wait, I'm gonna demonstrate this with the example I've just shown you guys. So damn, I forgot to finish this one, so let me just outline this. Okay, so as you can see, we are at pants currently, okay, and then we switch over to hair, and there was like no transition in between. It directly rapidly just changed the C-frame, changed the perspective to the dummy's head. And we do not want to do that. We want to add some kind of slow or maybe fast transition, so it actually depends on you. But we want to add some kind of transition in between. So we want the camera to slowly or fastly move up to the player's head, guys. So that's what we want to do. And that's the point where we use tweening. So as I just said, we refer to the tween service, call it function, and the first argument is the instance, which is our camera. So we want to tween the camera C-frame, but the C-frame is not an instance, it's a property of the camera, and the first argument always requires an instance, not a property. And C-frame property of the camera, of course, belongs to the camera, and the camera is an instance, okay? So that's about the first argument. The second argument holds the information about this tween, so tween info, new, and as you can see, we have this hint right here with multiple arguments which are being listed right here, and we of course need to consider them. So the first argument is the time, I think, so let's say 1. So number time, exactly. Now easing style, so easing style, I always pick linear or linear, I don't know how to pronounce it in English, guys, I'm very sorry. Now our second one is the easing direction, so unum or whatsoever easing direction, I always pick out. Now repeat count, so we do not want this to repeat, therefore we'll keep it at 0. Now reverses, no, we do not want this to reverse, and there's also no delay time we want to apply on. And yeah, so that's it with the tween info. Now the third argument always needs to be inside of those curly brackets, and that's, yeah, so that third argument holds the information of, which, of the state we want to reach, guys. So let me just quickly demonstrate it again for you. So we can basically tell that, so these two stages right here, okay? So we can basically say that the C-frame at this point is not the same at this point, okay? So there are two different C-frames, and there's some kind of destination, some kind of goal of the C-frame we want to reach. And that's, or we put that inside of here, guys. Okay, so that's like our goal. So to what extent this transition can go to. But after it has reached the numbers inside, it has to cancel with them. Okay, so the transition is over after reaching the, so whatsoever. Okay, so whatsoever is inside of those curly brackets. So let me just make it clear to you by actually filling that out. So cam C-frame equals, not cam C-frame, but only C-frame equals, so now I have to think, so just this one. So the C-frame of one of those buttons, so whatever is assigned to our button. Okay, and that's actually it. So let me just play this whole tween, and then there should be some kind of transition. There we go, guys. Maybe a bit too slow, but we can change that. That's no problem, but it looks cool, to be honest. So I really like that transition, and I really like the idea of having those different, yeah, focuses. Is that the plural? I don't know. Well, I'm sorry for my bad English at some points. I'm not a native speaker or something, so not blaming for that, guys. But as you can see, it works, and that's what counts at the end, guys. So if you have enjoyed this video, guys, then please leave a like, subscribe, share it to all of your friends, and if you subscribe, then please turn on the notification bell and give me feedback in the comment section, guys. Also, give me your ideas regarding this character editor. So is there anything else you would like to add? So maybe regarding the scene, because the scene is, yeah, very easy, but as I've just said earlier, guys, the focus is more on these GUIs and the assets later on I will create in the following episodes. But yeah, that's it, and take care.